computer. So good morning, everyone. I just wanted to let everyone know that we are having a special interview. We've started off the Marketing Optimist series of interviews with people who've got interesting stories where their journeys can maybe be inspiring to other people. So I have the greatest pleasure of interviewing Claire Culliford. And in full transparency, I feel I ought to let people know that Claire and I have known each other for quite a long time. I won't say how many years because nobody needs to know that, but we can't remember not knowing each other. So I am incredibly proud to say that Claire is a very dear friend of mine and that I have such a talented friend. So when I was given the opportunity to do these sorts of interviews and to pull together some interesting topics for people to listen to, Claire obviously sprung to my mind immediately. She has a very interesting journey, and at the moment she is a writer and author of children's environmental books. She has a full series of The Little Helpers, and they've been translated into 12 different languages. I've got a series of questions that I'm going to put to Claire to help kind of facilitate the discussion. And obviously there's likely to be an awful lot of chat along the way, but hopefully you will all find this very interesting in terms of the journey, the inspiration, the resilience, the determination in order to achieve a goal that you set out to achieve. So, hi Claire.
Hi.
Now, my first question is going to be, I'm going to start in at the deep end and ask, what is your greatest achievement in your journey? Because I know it's been a long journey and I'm sure we'll backtrack onto it, but what has been the greatest achievement for you in this journey?
I think undisputably it would have to be after many years, finally getting a publishing deal for the full book series, The Little Helpers, because it's something quite unique for an author to have happen. Often one book gets signed up. To have multiple books signed up at the same time, obviously, is what I would deem thus far to be the most exciting and possibly, the most memorable achievement on the journey.
That is a huge achievement. So what were the steps that you took in order to get to that? And did you always know that selling the international rights for your books was the thing that you wanted to achieve? Was that always the main thing that you wanted to get to?
Yeah, coming from a background where I've always worked very internationally, so having a background where I'd worked in translation, I'd worked in education, and in both rounds there'd been an awful lot of international work. I was aware that having a series was very important, but also that having something with global appeal was extremely important in terms of getting the kinds of messages that the book series gets out to young children, and thus enabling them also across different countries as they grow older to talk about something and there being a commonality. We do it today ourselves. There are certain authors around the world that you can speak to people from other countries about, and we remember them from childhood. It was something of that ilk that I really set out to create.
Fantastic. And I think you very much have done that, because I think the characters do encompass all of the different international cultures. All of that, you've got the Hector the hedgehog, and you've got the parrot, you've got the koala, and everybody in there. They're all part of a team, but they are international and they're all problem solving as well, which I think is really important. Is it's not just a story, and I love the fact that they tie into the national curriculum, that they give empathy as well as the problem solving. It's the fact that we are all in this together. We have a global problem that we have to solve. Right, kids, let's see how we can manage to do it. So I think it's wonderful. So how did you come up with the idea?
It was a number of things culminating really in the series. Obviously a background in writing and creative writing as well as translation, and having worked in education for many years. And I was involved in certain projects that involved very large international entities, some governments, large-scale organizations, that made me aware when we were doing some environmental work with teenagers and young adults, that there was a lack of means to raise awareness amongst younger children of the really important social and environmental issues that we all face globally, and in a way that doesn't cause anxiety or doesn't cause any type of worry, but that is very uplifting and positive, yet dealing with what are very substantial and sometimes quite serious issues.
Yeah, I think
and thus began the first couple of books.
That comes across really well, the fact that you actually are looking to empower the young people and actually give them tools and strategies in order to deal with everyday problems, as well as the global ecological problems. But it's the everyday problem solving that they can get tools and tips from solving the bigger problems. It gives them thought processes in order to be able to deal with different things. What have you enjoyed the most doing? Other than working with the children, because I know you love working with the children and getting the story out of that, but what have you enjoyed? What have you enjoyed in the process the most?
I think there's lots of different things, some of which I knew I would enjoy because that's why I started doing what I was doing, and other things that you maybe don't expect, you discover along the way. I love researching for writing, so I have loved the amount of knowledge I've been able to acquire about these big global environmental and social issues. I love coming up with the ideas for stories, and obviously you need to inform yourself quite significantly in order to do that. So that's a really fun part of the process. Trialing them with children is incredibly enjoyable because they are the harshest critics that exist and yet the funniest. So every time there is much joy, there is much laughter, and there's much learning when they simply come back and tell you what is and isn't good with them and what they do and don't want. So that's a wonderful part of the process.
Yes, they are very good feedback, aren't they, children? Yes.
The best, absolutely the best. They tell you everything you don't want to hear. So.
It is absolutely amazing, but it's so transparent and it is so honest that they've not tried to filter it. They've not tried to put any, which is great because it is their true thoughts about something. So it is the best feedback that you can have on something like that, isn't it?
Absolutely. And then what's lovely as well is the counter to that is when they love something and something is really working well with them, it is also very evident. So they make it apparent when they love something. The level of engagement makes it clear that they do. So you're told when you're getting it wrong, and it's quite visible when you're getting it right. And so that's a lovely counter to the some of their very interesting thoughts. So.
And what would you say the flip side of that then is, what's been the bit that you've enjoyed the least? What's been the most challenging part of the journey?
I think there has been an incredible amount of rejection along the way. People have told me all manner of different things, not always in an overly critical fashion, but there's been an awful lot of, it can't work like this, it won't work like this, you won't be able to achieve it like this, by people who are, I hold in great esteem in different industries, certain people in the publishing industry who would give me advice, but also tell me categorically why perhaps my books, which overlap, say, the education and fictional markets, weren't going to work because up until now that wasn't really a recognized genre, so they felt it needed to be either education or it needed to be fiction.
So it's never been done before, so therefore we can't do it. Is that, yeah?
That was sometimes the feeling. You try to be incredibly positive and say, well, I feel that what I'm doing is new and that's the whole reason for it. Not a particularly enjoyable part, because you then go searching for the people who say this can be done, this will be done, because on a very long journey, you need a lot of that. Not overly enjoyable, and probably the quantity of hours and the amount of time. There are many times at which you think, I'd rather be doing other things, I wish I could be doing, if only I were. And something nevertheless, passion, no doubt, drive, conviction, keep you thinking, not what I feel like doing today, but it's what I'm going to be doing anyway, because it's what I believe I need to be doing. And some of those days and evenings and weeks and weekends have been challenging at times, because it requires a very significant amount of discipline and self-discipline.
Yeah, I think that the key thing that I find in a lot of new businesses, in my role, in for what you've achieved, it's turning up every single day, doing something that you believe in, that you're passionate about. And there are days, yeah, that you feel like, oh God, I don't want to do that. I, really can't find another story to post about on LinkedIn. I really can't find something positive or motivational, but you just have to. And it is that kind of being noticed. And you don't, some days you might not get noticed massively on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, whatever, but some days you will, because whatever you've posted has resonated. And then all it takes is for that one particular post to be the one that people notice and that takes you further. And I do happen to know that you've had some quite significant recognition from people within the industry. You've had some quite big names, if you like, celebrities, should we say, who have congratulated you on the work that you've done and have been really quite supportive, if I remember rightly from our conversations.
No, I've had lovely people along the way. I've had everybody from, and it's not even a case of name dropping. I think it's really important. Those people have kept me going when the challenges were constantly being presented. Some of the wonderful big publishers, HarperCollins to name but one, who I exhibited the series next to at Frankfurt Book Fair. I was a very small individual author entity. They're obviously huge, were incredibly supportive, helpful, encouraging. Their one entity springs to mind and kept me going. Yeah. I got a lovely piece of correspondence from Sir David Attenborough to tell me that he thought the series was great. That letter's kept with me. I've had a beautiful piece of correspondence also from quite a well-known author that lives locally here, a lady called Joanne Harris. Those kind of things inspire you to keep going and mean an awful lot. And the people probably don't even realize that a few minutes of their time make the world of difference to you. And it's something you learn as you go on as well, how very important it is that you're doing that for other people who come to you with their ideas and their passion and their new projects, because that encouragement is what also helps keep you going.
Yeah, I think that's a very important point to make, is that as you become more successful and people start recognizing you as a name in the industry, the other people who are coming up behind you doing their own version of their journey, if they're looking to you for help, support, advice, that it is that, yeah, actually, I will reach out and I will, spend 5 minutes writing a letter or feeding back to say, yeah, well, fantastic idea, go for it. Or, my experience is this, and helping to share so people can grow. And like you say, I mean, I remember when you got some of those bits of feedback from the people that really mattered, and it does give you that bit of a warmth inside of, I am doing the right thing. This is what I was meant to do. And these people who I respect and trust their opinion, they think it's right as well. So actually, yes, hard work has been worthwhile.
Absolutely. And more as time goes on, what you tend to find then is sometimes these people come along without you even having initiated correspondence. And I think that's what's really lovely, because then you do start to appreciate, I'm in a very privileged position, and that's something that I then can use to help other people on a similar journey. And I think it's probably one of the most enjoyable parts of starting to have some success with what you're doing, is what you're also able to do to help other people. It's incredibly fulfilling and enjoying to be able to say, I know how hard it may be at present, but keep doing what you're doing. It's a lovely thing to be able to share with people.
It is. I think it's very powerful that what did we call it the other day? Authentic support. So it's not just supporting for the sake of, oh, it looked good, or because you feel it's the right thing to do. You're supporting somebody and helping them because you actually want to help them. Not because you feel that somewhere down the line that something's going to come out of it, but it's because you really, that's what you want to do, is help and support them. And the creative collaboration that's involved in getting a project like that together is the same, or it's very similar when you look at a lot of the collaboration that businesses need to do together to work with their suppliers, to work with the experts in their field, to make sure that everybody is doing the best that they can in order to make something happen. And we can't do it all. I think that's the thing. We can't do everything. we're just not capable of doing everything perfectly, and we shouldn't try, because that's just a recipe for success, for disaster. It's, you know, you're not going to be able to achieve it. So it helps if you can help other people, and then also allow them to help you, because sometimes that is quite hard when it's something that is your own dream, your own passion. Then allowing other people in can be quite hard. Did you find that?
Yeah, I think there was an element of that. And I think it's fair to say a lot of us, when it's something that matters to us so much, yes, it can be hard and you can get very protective of it. The good thing I find is when you do feel very passionate about something, you have a desire to share, whether it be casually, whether it be on a social plane, whether it be because you're dealing with work colleagues. And in having done that from very early on, organically that help starts to manifest itself, and you start to realize the benefit of that for keeping you going during the difficult times, for absolutely helping you do things that you would not be able to achieve on your own, and for sharing the enjoyment of the milestones along the way. Yeah. Because it doesn't really have much taste, the happiness and the success, if it's not shared and if it's not fed back to those people who've supported along the way. And the more you do it, it's a bit like a muscle. I think the more you appreciate its benefit and the more you want to do it and you actively seek to do it. But no, there is no way that I would be able to have achieved the vision that I have and that I continue to have going forward without more and more people coming on board to help. And it becomes more and more fun and more enjoyable as we go.
Now, slightly different question. So did you always know that you wanted it to be fully international? Did you ever think that it might just be kind of European? Because I know your languages are based more around sort of European languages. Did you ever think that, did you always think that it was going to be international?
I did, yes, because one, I have a propensity to think big. And so to me, international meant international. It didn't maybe mean the countries where I'm fortunate enough to know some of the language, or countries where I have some friends and colleagues living. It was something that was designed to have appeal around the world. And the nature of my work helped with that. It made me aware of other brands, if you like, that had achieved that. So I suppose that also helped me to realise that it's possible. Thus, it didn't seem extraordinary at the outset to determine the brand I want to create is something that has global appeal. So yeah, definitely from the start.
Excellent. And I did have another question. Yes, it was to do with, we talked before about, and I don't really want to talk too much about it because everyone's talking about the pandemic. And it's not about the pandemic, but do you feel that the fact that we are in a global pandemic has made the whole international side of things feel that little bit closer? Because we are all in this together, and I think that's, from an environmental perspective, we've kind of known that we're all in it together, but this is now meant because everybody is impacted by this. So does that make it more possible for people to think at a wider scale?
I think it has done. I was starting to notice prior to this year, probably the last couple of years, and having traveled quite extensively with the series, the commonality everywhere I went, people's concern about these issues, their feeling that it was imperative that we educate the next generation positively and with a solution focus rather than just focusing on the problems and the issues. The minute the pandemic came about, that in all aspects seemed to be something people became aware of, that it is very much about focusing on solutions. Problems are there, but the way forward is solutions. And it also enabled me, because a lot of us had more time at home, sometimes time that was due to be filled with certain activities that then wasn't, to interact with even more people internationally, to discuss, to get an awareness of what was going on in their countries, to garner support both for the series. So for example, large international wildlife and environmental organisations and social organisations may be endorsing the series, but I too was then able to do things for them, utilising maybe other skills that I had, other areas of knowledge, other contacts. And I think it was quite a precious time, because it really did start to feel as though it doesn't matter what particular aspect of this we're working on, when we come together, what we will achieve is going to be much greater. And that really was incredibly highlighted during, well, has been highlighted during the past few months.
No, I think that's so true, that it's made everybody so much more aware of the possibilities.
Yeah.
I think the fact that you've got the technological advancements and now everybody knows what Zoom is. I imagine in February, if you'd asked people what Zoom was, nobody would have known, or there'd have been a very small percentage of people. And now, what was it? They say that necessity is the mother of invention. And now you've got people like my mother doing her U3A and NWR calls on Zoom, and they're all kind of in their 70s and 80s, but they're loving it because it's a new way of communicating with people. So I think it has made people aware that all the technological advancements aren't always bad. I know sometimes they're seen as, you know, don't let kids spend too much time on technology because it's rotting their brain. Well, anything in too much, anything in excess is not good for you, but use the tools correctly. And if you use the right tools for the job, then they can be really, really positive. So I do think it's been an important development, a horrific one, and I think it's very sad. But I do think if you look for the positives, and let's face it, we are the Marketing Optimist, we are the optimistic team, and
yes,
that's why it's brilliant for me, because I'm probably a person who can put a positive spin on pretty much anything if I possibly can. Probably quite annoyingly so for some people, it has to be said, but that's just where I am. So what's next then, Claire? What's the next step in the journey?
Well, at the moment, what's been happening is I have been interacting with a lot of organisations globally to get their support and endorsement for the series. The first 2 books have now been re-released in their new format by the publisher, and the next 4 are going to be released over the next 4 or 5 months. It's looking like further books have now been signed up. I've written 30 in total at this stage for the series. And obviously what happens in the book industry is that you release a number so that you're able to work out how to develop further ones going forward. But things are looking very positive with regards to the series being sold internationally to all manner of markets around the world, the brand gaining in notoriety, and then offshoots such as the animated TV series. And meanwhile, I'm being approached by people who have other significant brands of a type that might involve endangered species or might involve environmental message, to be able to write for them, so that once again we can all put our cumulative skills together and create something bigger and more significant and with more impact as a whole than potentially it would be in its constituent parts. So from here it would seem lots more writing, and that the Little Helpers over the next year will be growing enormously on a global scale.
Fantastic. So the Little Helpers are really helping, and they're getting help from other people. So that's exactly how it's meant to be. It's
absolutely,
yeah, it's fantastic. Well, thank you for that, Claire. Really, really enjoyed it. It's great. I mean, obviously, I know we do talk quite a lot about various things, which is brilliant, but I wanted, because I've gained so much from knowing your journey and from being there for part of it and being able to be involved in it. And I just thought that there are so many lessons that people can learn about the thinking big, thinking internationally, the collaborative teamwork, accepting help, giving help. There's so many things there, and turning up every single day to do something, even if you're not 100% feeling it that morning. And I think those are big things that people need to learn or need to understand, and maybe have reiterated to them that that's how you get success. There's no such thing as an overnight success, that it doesn't just happen. And even if it looks like it's happened, it's like the tip of the iceberg, isn't it? People only see the top bit. They're not seeing all the rest of the work that went on in order to achieve the bit that is then seen in the media. And I do think it's a really important thing. So thank you very much for that, Claire. I'm going to
thank you.
Thank you
so much.